Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're breaking down exactly why so many working Americans feel totally financially trapped. You work hard, you do everything right, but you still feel broke, right? It's incredibly frustrating. Well, you're not alone. 62% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck, including the vast majority of Gen Z. So ditch the guilt. It's not your budgeting skills. We're actually fighting massive, systemic economic headwinds here. Look at the math. Since 1973, worker productivity skyrocketed 72%, but our actual pay? It basically flatlined. Decades of stagnant wages literally starved the working class. All that generated wealth just funneled straight to the top. Meanwhile, living costs just exploded. Insane rent, groceries, and car payments devour whatever little paycheck you have left. This scary result? Over a third of Americans can't even cover a $400 emergency without taking on debt. So how do vulnerable folks survive this relentless squeeze? They're forced straight into massive, inescapable debt traps. Take student loans. Young, college-educated debtors actually hold a staggering 7 times less wealth than their debt-free peers. Averaging over $137,000, their total debt is a massive financial anchor pulling them down. And then there's the medical debt crisis. This trap uniquely and completely devastates our most marginalized communities. The burden is wildly unequal, guys. Medical debt disproportionately crushes Black and Hispanic adults all across the country. Over 1.4 million Americans are stuck in a Medicaid coverage gap. They're completely uninsurable, mostly down in the South. This whole web of systemic debt guarantees a devastating economic fallout, hitting vulnerable, low-income populations the hardest. It triggers a vicious downward spiral. Ruined credit leads to denied housing, blocked jobs, and eventually bankruptcy. In fact, a shocking 62% of all personal bankruptcies are tied directly to this crippling medical debt. Because it totally blocks saving and investing, this debt actively widens the generational racial wealth gap even further. Recent safety net reforms did throw us a lifeline, but proposed policy rollbacks threaten to make this crisis worse. So we gotta ask, can our economy really survive when it leaves zero margin for its most vulnerable people?